Hello, how's it going? Gennaro, CEO of Tech Solutions, and today we're going to be talking about red teaming and blue teaming. We'll just kind of briefly touch on what they are, and what are the characteristics of either one, and would you like to join one or the other? All right, again, let's get right into it. So cybersecurity, as we know, you can kind of being able to at least simulate something that's happening, because with cybersecurity you have that ability to do so, because really it goes far beyond your standard firewall. All right, so what a red team is going to be able to do is simulate an actual hack that's going on, and a blue team is going to be able to simulate someone actually responding and preventing these attacks. So what is red teaming? Now, red teaming, like I mentioned, involves you, as in like the red team, the ethical hacker, simulating an actual attack in a test too. Because the primary goal is all about how can I identify and exploit these weaknesses that a malicious actor might? What are some of the low-hanging fruit as well? As you scan these systems and you see, oh wow, there's a way in, I can probably get that one. That's a good one. Right? This is an exploit here. Right? Because the approach is all about how can we mimic a real-world attack without informing the blue team on the other side what's actually happening. Now, with a red team, like I mentioned, is going to mimic a cyber attack. Now, this can include phishing, as in they can phish the entire staff. They can utilize ransomware. They can lat move throughout a network, because again, we're trying to exploit these system vulnerabilities to gain unauthorized access, because it basically shows that, hey, if the red team can do it, then the threat actor can do it. And some of the common techniques that you may see are going to be, well, how can a person send, in a sense, these different emails? Right? How can they do that? How can they trick an employee? Well, that's a whole part of social engineering. This is one of the more common techniques that red teaming would see and actually do. What about blue team? So blue team is all about the total opposite side. It's all about preventing, detecting, mitigating. You can pretty much go off of the cybersecurity framework, right, through NIST within blue team, because it's all about monitoring the systems, having your incident response plans in place, hardening the system as well, and being able to proactively search for these potential threats, because, well, they can absolutely happen. So these are just some of the more core activities. So what are the dynamics to this? Red team is going to focus on how can I, well, really overall execute on these exploits. And on the blue side, it's all about how can I defend against these exploits. But the dynamic together is all about improving the organizational security, right? Because you're running these different tests, you're collaborating after your attack, because both teams are going to come together, and now you're going to be known as the purple team. Now you can share your resources, share what you found, have a better defense because you know what happened on the offensive side. You can build something a little bit better the next go around. So the focus area is going to be on the red team again. How can I breach the system? The blue team is all about how can I defend against these attacks? And then purple team is coming together, right? Because, well, we can learn more if we're sharing that information. That's the whole point of our sharing and analysis centers, like we talked about within our previous video. So some of the tools that we utilize, Metasploit, and I've talked about that one before. You have Burp Suite as well, Wireshark, the use of Elastic Stack. That's a really fun one to set up if you're setting up Elastic Stack, and then you're going through and adding in on top of that like a Splunk system or something along those lines. It's really fun to do. Right, but it's all about being able to utilize the tools in real time. Practice helps out in this case because you're able to actually do what a red team or blue team would do. There's also, if anyone has yet to see it, look for Kali Linux Purple, because, well, now you have not only the red team tools within Kali Linux and within that distro, but now you have the chance to have blue team as well too. So you have a lot of fun there. You can create your own environments, set up your own systems from a defense and a offense standpoint, and really have fun with that. Now, of course, there are going to be ethics and regulations. I talked about the moral aspects when it comes to being an ethical hacker, when it comes to being a industry standard professional, and understanding that, well, you have to be able to practice and adhere to these strict ethical standards. We can't just go around using our scanning tools and doing all the things and gaining access to systems we don't necessarily have access to or supposed to. So we need content, right? We need to say, hey, this is what we're going to do. We need to have a way to build out something that shows your organization that you're going to do some of these actual engagements that, hey, this is what we're able to do. having the consent of the organization, having that buy-in, having documentation around what all you are doing. The content, it can kind of flow into that too, because you can have screenshots, you can have everything as well as like, hey, this is your whole test. Here's your report, basically, right? And then you have your compliance frameworks. We talked about NIST, cybersecurity framework, but then you have your OWASP too. You can utilize that from a perspective of red teaming as well when it comes to, hey, an organization may have a web application or 2 or 3, right, within the network. And let's go and exploit that using our web application methodology when it comes to attacking a web app, right? So you do have the ability to use these different frameworks and standards, but again, it's going to fall back on what are the code of conducts. And then a simulated phishing campaign, we can talk about that. So the red team, they're going to send out a realistic phishing campaign. Now, you may be able to spot it or you may not, but the outcome is going to be, can that blue team detect it? Is the training done properly with our employees to know if they're going to stop it or at least spot it or not? But again, it's all about improving that user awareness. Giving some training and education around what a phishing attack may look like will give you best practices. And then creating email filtering rules, because now you know what to look for, especially in this type of campaign. But there's always room for improvement, of course. And again, it's been great. Gennaro, CEO of Cortex Solutions, and we just talked about how, in a sense, can we utilize the use of the red teaming and blue teaming and put that together in a sense that gives us a better understanding of, well, what's happening within an organization, right? Because we have to know, well, how to attack it and how to defend it. I always talked about, well, in order to understand cybersecurity, you have to know networking from its core aspects. Same thing when it comes to, well, red team and blue team. You have to know the other side of how they actually go about, well, executing on their tools. All right, it's been great. Gennaro here, CEO of Cortex Solutions. Again, we talked about the use of red teaming versus blue team, brought to you by ACSMI. Hope you have a great one. Take care.